What is good, everyone? This is the Toon Trooper, and today I will be going over update V1.0.2. This is the first balance patch to come after Omega Studios actually released Predecessor for to free to play. So I've gone over a bit of what's in this patch notes, and I'll do a quick summary of everything that's here. Just know that normally these balance patches are not supposed to be that big, right? The reason being is because what Omega usually does is they release uh, 2 patches within 6 weeks, so every 3 weeks, and every 6 weeks is when you get the major patch, and then there's going to be one in between where it's like you get more or less balance changes. But with this one, it is bigger than what we're probably expecting. You're going to see that we are getting a lot of skins. You can even see right there that we are getting the Doomsday Steel skin, which was previously in Paragon, which is really amazing. I think this is an underrated skin, and it looks like they even added their own VFX based on the video. I will link that below, but let's get started with this. So they give you a brief introduction, just talking about, things that happen about last week, about the past couple of weeks, and everything that they're gonna release, and they talk about the skins, right? They mention here the Doomsday Steel skin and all the variants that's coming with it. I didn't see the colors for the variants, but you can see the name of them. So the first skin, as you can see, that's gonna be in this patch is the Steel skin. I think that's pretty cool. Steel's already I think he's pretty popular, and he's definitely a very good hero. You got a legendary skin for him. That's nice. He's gonna have a bundle. Right, as you can see here, a bundle is gonna come with the spray, banner, profile icon. He's gonna have another bundle where you're gonna get the skin, and you're gonna get 2 different variants. Like I said, they don't show the variants, but we'll have to wait till it's used to see what they look like. But this one's called Sapphire. This one's called Jet. I think because this one's called Sapphire, I think it's fair to assume that it's gonna be like a blue colored. As far as Jet, I don't know, silver maybe, maybe a bit more greenish. I'm not too sure. They got some more skins. This is a completely new and original skin. I think it looks amazing. It gives me Witch Doctor vibes, and honestly, this skin makes me want to play Revenant a lot more. I already think Revenant is a really cool character design. It's just he's not that good. Oh, it's not that he's not that good. It's just every other carrier is better than him. But it's not that he's bad. He's not like if I was to put him in a tier list, I wouldn't put him like D tier or anything, in my opinion. They show a face skin. They've been doing a few punk skins. I think Countess has a punk version, which is also green, and then they did the Twitch drop where I think it's like blue and purple. I wouldn't be surprised if Face gets a variant that's blue and purple for this skin. That would be nice. And variants for this skin, which is already in the game, the Darkheart Mortgage, and they have a bundle, and you'll get the skin. I don't know which one this is, because this is one of the variant colors. I would assume this is Desert Darkheart. I don't know, or the Swamp Darkheart. But right, they only show one variant. They don't show what both of them look like. All right, so like I said, it's not supposed to be a big patch, so we'll go over the balance changes and then the items. So the first hero that we're gonna go over is Argus. He gets a decrease to his health, nothing crazy. His primary ability does get changed. I think this is actually going to hurt his support more than it hurts his mid. The reason for that is because the damage is going down, the radius is going down, which I think is very big, because one of the things that makes Argus very strong is that it's very easy for him to land his stun, because you don't actually have to hit someone with it. You could just explode it like around them and it'll stun them. So the radius for that has been decreased. The cooldown has been increased by 1 second per level, and the explosion VFX, so that way it matches the hitbox better. And then his ultimate, the scaling went down. Like, all right, he's still gonna be a strong hero. Nothing too crazy. Like I said, I think this hurts his support more than mid lane. Aurora, very strong hero. If you play ranked, you're gonna see that she's usually getting banned. At least when I play ranked, she's usually banned. Her glacial, her primary ability, when allies walk on it, they actually do get a movement speed, and they're saying that the movement speed just wasn't enough, so that's why they're increasing it by 5% per level. Her alternate ability, the cooldown is being decreased, but the explosion damage that it does is actually being decreased per level, I think. But this is usually the first ability you max out, and um, when you max it out, once the patch comes out, it's gonna do 20 less damage. Just, not bad. Decker, S tier support, always been an S tier support no matter what. Of movement speed decrease, I don't think this really changes much. I think the problem with Decker is that she has, in my opinion, like 2.5 stuns, right? She got an actual stun, her ult can stun if you hit them in the middle of it, and then her cage is like a stun, and then it's not a stun, right? It's like you're trapped in there for like a few seconds, and I think at level 1 it's like, what is it, 2.25 seconds that the cage is up. So yeah. Drongo, damage for his rad rounds are going down because the burst damage with him is just insane, and the same thing with his alternate ability. When he throws his boomerang, the burst damage is just insane. Keep in mind that this hits twice, so even though this says it went down by 5 per level, you can kind of see that it went down by 10 per level. All right, so Fang Mao, people are saying that he's arguably the best assassin. Yeah, I can see that. He's just very good, and he's still very strong in the off lane, but you don't see him that much there. And they even mention it that the changes they made did work to move him away from the off lane because he was just too strong there. You want him to be in the jungle because that's his main role. So his scaling for his basic I think it says primary here, but it's not primary. It's his basic attack. His scaling for his basic attack went down. That's a big deal because he does actually basic attack a lot. His shield now gets you get less movement speed per penetration because Feng Mao loves building penetration because of abilities like this, and then mainly his ultimate. And then his reaping dash does 10 less damage per level. So decreases to Feng Mao all around. Gideon is his primary ability is being the cooldown is being reduced by 1, and his teleport is being increased at level 1 because he is the safest mid laner, which is kind of insane. But towards the later of the game, the cooldown is actually going to be decreased by 2 seconds less than what it was before, which I don't mind too much because this is what he usually uses to initiate fights anyway. And when it comes to late game, Gideon does. I mean, his ult is very strong late game, but he also has to be careful because he puts himself vulnerable. Next we got Grux. So they mentioned that Grux has always been a bully. He's very good in the early game, but once it comes to late game, he's not that good. So they're giving him more armor growth. So as the game progresses, he's going to be able to take more physical damage. His smash and grab and his crush, his primary and his secondary, their cooldowns are being reduced. Nothing too crazy. We'll see. Grux is probably still in the same. I mean, a second on both can make a difference, but I don't know. I feel like the physical armor is what's gonna make the most difference if it does, because you use them in the off lane, and usually what you fight is someone with physical damage. Howitzer, they reduced the damage of his primary ability by 5, and they also reduced the scaling, which I thought was surprising because I know it does go far, but I think like Gadget, Bomb, and like Gideon primary, like the Cosmic Rift, I think they're at 70, even 75, so his going to 65 is kind of weird to me. I don't know. Landmine, I think it got decreased last patch and it's getting decreased again. I get it. It's supposed to be a safe thing. It does do a lot of damage, but he kind of gave Howitzer that option where it's like if you really want to burst people down, you could have. But they do mention that even though they're decreasing this, they're putting the damage on his ult instead. So the total damage of his ult went down, and then it shows here that damage per missile did go up. This is when his ultimate is at level 2 and level 3. When it's level 1, it does the same damage. Kwang is actually very strong. I actually put a video on him recently, and he's someone that I think people are sleeping on because I don't see him that much, and he does very good. But Omeda did notice that, and that's why his passive, the damage that he does with it, is being decreased. His primary ability, the sword throw, the cooldown is being decreased, and the mana is being decreased, which is a buff. But his alternate ability, the health damage, the The damage that he does with it has been decreased, and the shield he gets from it has also been decreased. So he's not gonna be able to like bully people in the early game as much with this, or and then mitigate as much damage, especially if you timed it right. Right, you could do damage to them, and then you'll get the shield, and then your shield will protect you from whatever ability they used if you know how to play them right. His ultimate is getting a damage increase, which is fine. I don't think his ultimate ever did too much. I think the slow on his ultimate is ridiculous, though. I will say that. It definitely, if you definitely get hit, he just stays there, and then he gets his abilities back, and then he could just combo you again. Lieutenant Bellica, I think this is gonna help more her mid lane. People saying she's weak. I don't think she's as weak as people are making her out to be, right? Because she could still like assassinate mages, and if you're like at 50% mana, you're just screwed. 50% or less, you're really screwed. But they're buffing her. I'm happy. I like her. Her Void Bomb is actually doing more damage, and the cooldown is going down by 0.5, which is kind of insane. I think people really neglect this about her. When you look at like Gideon, right? His cooldown got decreased, but it goes down from like, or it's gonna go down from like 12 to 8. Did they show Howitzers? They don't show Howitzers, but it's probably about the same. Hers is just 6 seconds at all levels, which is it's kind of ridiculous. Right, next is Murdoch. They basically mentioned that his ult has too low of a cooldown, so they're increasing it because his ult is global presence, so it was kind of like free kills for him. I'm surprised they just now noticed this. If anything, you can even put this up a bit higher, right? Because they usually run Vanquisher anyway, so yeah, this is if you're a decent Murdoch, once you get your ult, it's like a guaranteed kill. Because all you gotta do is pay attention to your map. Muriel's actually getting a really interesting change, and on paper, to me, it looks like she's gonna be really good, and she's gonna be someone that you might wanna rush people down with. That's the vibe that I'm getting at least. I wouldn't be surprised if people actually max out her primary ability now because the slow is actually being increased and is actually going up to 50%. The duration has been going down from 2 to 1.5, but 50% slow is ridiculous. You might as well have made this a root, right? Yeah, whatever basic attack you're doing afterwards or whatever your carry's doing, it's gonna hit. It's gonna hit. And then her alternate ability, they definitely made a lot of changes for this, which is I actually like it. And it's crazy because at least for me, I usually max this out first, just because I like maxing out the shield because you get to shield 2 people even though it gives you less of a shield. So alternate ability, the shield is going up, the scaling is going up if you build magical power, the movement speed it gives you is going up, it's gonna cost less, and the mana goes out. Like it's just straight buffs to this ability, so it's like it's kind of insane. And like I said, I used to max this out last, not because it's a bad ability, it's just or if not second, just because I love upgrading. I think it's called Consecrating Grounds, her secondary ability. So even just at level 1, the amount of buffs that this ability got is kind of insane. Alright, next is Phase. Phase, they're making it so that it's kind of weird. They kind of mentioned that they want her to be a bit more aggressive because most Phase players stay in the back. But when I'm reading these patch notes, I feel like you're still gonna stay back, mainly because of this one right here. Like they increase her physical power, yeah, and her physical power growth. Okay, so you know her basic attack's gonna start doing more, but it's like her healing went up. I believe this is her passive, and they don't mention it. Is it part of her passive? I think it's part of her passive. And then her secondary, her energy lance, which hits you from basically across the map. The free route that she has, I actually think she's a very good support, and people neglect her because she has a free route like every 10 seconds. The scaling for it is going up, and then her ultimate, the DK and movement speed is also going up. So it's like you gave her so she can basic attack harder, but she doesn't have to move up on people because you increased her root ability. You increased the scaling for it, so it's like she's gonna end up doing more damage with this, and that's enough. This is enough. The fact that she's gonna be able to heal more, especially if she pulls them back or whatever, or when she does her, I think her primary ability, and then when she does her ult, it's like her and probably the carry, right? Because that's the one you're most likely ulting, are gonna move faster anyway. So it's like these buffs almost basically, to me, it feels like it offsets these buffs. Like if they would have just gave her this and not this, I would have understood. So I don't know. But you know, yay, Faye's got better. Maybe we'll see more of her because I do think she's strong, but I feel like I don't see her as much. Rampage, ever since the changes, apparently he's very good. They took note of that, so the damage of his Rumble is going down. I believe this hits twice, so it actually goes down by 10 per hit per ability use. But I still think he's gonna be a very strong hero. He can definitely be very tanky, and I love that he can finally do that. Richter's getting some more love, which is kind of nice. I know people are really using him because he arguably has the best skin in the game. His secondary ability, the bonus health scaling from it goes up, the cooldown goes down, and now there was apparently a bug fix where it shows the correct level. I don't ever remember encountering that, but yeah, more buffs. This will definitely help him in the jungle, where I think you want to max this out first to clear, and in the off lane. Seraph, what was it they did? They increased her mana and then her mana growth. I guess they felt like she had a little bit of mana, and then her primary ability did more damage. I think the reason for this because they wanted her to perform better in the off lane. Me personally, I don't like this change. Well, it's not that I don't like the change. I don't like the reasoning behind the change. That's what I meant. The reason is she's an assassin. Other than like Shinbi, because when you look at her kit, and even Shinbi still sometimes like when I think of assassins, I think of like you should really be able to jungle, and it's like they gave her like so many things to help her in the off lane. It's like I'm not saying she needs help in the jungle, but that should be her main role, and I feel like they're focusing on the off lane too much. But that's how I feel. Shinbi, I think got a very big buff. Her circle rhythm, her secondary ability, the damage per magical power scaling went from 25 to 28, and the shield that she gets from it increased. I think this is very big because her scaling. I believe she summons. What is it? 3 wolves. Is it 3 wolves? But it hits 4 times, right? Does it hit? It hits 4 times or 3 times. So because of that, that means the power scaling actually increased by either 9 or 12%, which is kind of insane. And then she gets a bigger shield off it as well now, so it's like it's when she's on you, it's harder to kill you. And then her rushing beat even got an increase by 10. But if she's just running you down, this is basically an increase by 20 because she's able to dash twice. So I feel like, and they do mention it, it's like that the reason they're giving her this is because um, they feel like it takes a while for Shinbi to like be able to finally 1v1 people. Um, and I feel like this definitely helps, but I don't know. We'll see. I feel like when she reaches level 6, I guess what they wanted will be achieved. But I feel like if she reaches level 11, once because that's normally once you reach level 11, that's how it is now. Before this patch comes out, she becomes a threat. If especially if people don't pay attention to her, like she's able to just assassinate anyone no matter what. Sevarog, very strong. I'm surprised by this change. His ultimate, the damage went down at level 2 and 3, but the magical power scaling went up. I guess they want people to build more magical power on him or incentivizing that. I think people already build. What's the name of that item? It's the one where I think if you have more bonus health, it gives you more magical power for some reason. World is a world breaker. I forget the name, but I feel like people already built that, and now it's gonna be even better on him. I wouldn't be surprised if people rush that item even faster on Sevarog. Terra, still a menace, getting nerfs, so her true damage on the Ruthless Assault is going down. This makes sense. I'm not even mad at this. This is true damage, right? Went down from 170 to 150. Like 150 true damage is still a lot. True damage. Doesn't matter how much defense you have. The shield that she gets on her alternate ability, when you have all 5 stacks, went from 14% to 12%. That's not bad. I believe this got nerfed before. I forgot how much it used to be, but it is very strong, and it is a very good way for Terra to engage fights because you have this very healthy shield, and it's like they have to destroy the shield before they can start doing damage to you. And then her ultimate, the passive that it has, the bonus physical armor, magical armor that it has now is being decreased by 2 per level, which you know it's a nerf, but it's nothing too crazy. Faye, out of everyone here, I think Faye has received the most changes. She's probably gonna be like so much fun, um, or even more fun. So they increased their physical armor, but decreased their mana, which is fine because I believe some of the abilities are getting mana decreases anyway. So her passive is, if I remember correctly, when you get a takedown, it summons her alternate ability, that plant, on like over the person that died. And then she also gets movement speed. So what they're doing is, instead of getting 15% movement speed for 5 seconds, you now get a bigger movement speed, which is going to be obviously noticeable, but for a shorter time, which is 3 seconds. But that's still insane. 30% movement speed when you get a takedown for 3 seconds. If you're in a team fight, Faye is just gonna, after she gets a kill, she's just gonna be running people down because she's gonna be able to catch up to them, which is kind of insane. Her primary ability, the cooldown was decreased. The slow, although it's less at the first 2 levels, it goes up to 50%. I think this is a 1 second slow. Again, 50% slow is kind of insane. Like, you're not gonna miss whatever other ability you throw after, which is probably gonna be her secondary anyway. And then the cooldown decreased. Once you max this out from like last level, it goes from 100 to 80, and which is fine, which is obviously very good. But they lowered her overall mana anyway. Sorry, I said cooldown, but I meant mana. Her secondary ability, this is usually what you max out first, because despite her looks, she is a bully. The damage changed. It does less early game, but more late game, which I'm surprised they did this. You're gonna see why. The scaling went down. The amplification stack, like if you keep landing this ability, the amount of damage you do with it actually went down. However, the duration to actually get this has went from 6 to 8. This is really big because most mid laners love building ability haste. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a scenario, because it's 8 seconds, oh, you missed your secondary ability, but the 8 seconds are still there, and you probably get the ability back in like 2-3 seconds, so you still got another chance to keep stacking the amplification, which is kind of insane, right? It's kind of like it gives you like another chance. And I kind of, honestly, I kind of don't like this. I prefer if it stayed at 6. Or even if it was 5, I would understand. And then the stacks actually went from 3 to 4, so it's like, yeah, the amplification scaling went down, and the magical power scaling of the ability overall went down, but you get an extra stack, so it's like you're gonna do more damage with it. But the cost, the mana cost went down, the mana refund went down, but that's fine because if you look at how much it was before, it was a 15 mana difference, so you have 15 less, and now it's a 10 mana difference, so I see it as a buff. And then as a quality of life, the projectile cast time and responsive has improved. This is something we just have to try out. I guess it would just, it's just gonna feel a lot better. So yeah, just a lot of changes to Faye. We're still not even done because her alternate ability, the cooldown was increased by 1 second. All right, that's not too bad. That's fine because to me now it looks like you're gonna max this out last anyway, because her primary ability now goes to 50% slow, and you always max out her too because you want to keep harassing the mid laner. And then her fly trap, the scaling went up, which is a buff, which is kind of insane because she's gonna burst people down. She's gonna burst people down. She's gonna chase people down. All right, so Twin Blast, I believe his attack speed used to be 40%. They're bringing it back to that, and now it goes 35 to 40. His ultimate goes up by damage at the first 2 levels, but not late game. That's fine. His ultimate never did a lot of damage. That wasn't the point of his ultimate. His ultimate was like, oh, they blinked, or oh, they escaped. Let me finish the job by doing my ultimate. His ultimate was never like, oh, let me just do crazy damage. It's like, no, okay, I got you to like 20%. Doesn't matter that you're across the map. My ultimate is gonna hit you. I'm gonna hit you with all these bullets, and you're done. But yeah, Sync's arguably the best support. Well, not even arguably. I think it's fair to say she's the best support right now. And she's getting nerfed, specifically in the healing department. She heals too much, and you're gonna see with some of the items that they even nerf some of the healing from the items, which I thought was also very smart. But her mana went down, the mana regen went down, but the mana growth went up. So it's like, I didn't do the math, but I guess by the time she reaches like level 6 or something, it's gonna be, a about the same mana regen as before. Maybe I would assume that by the time she's 18, it's gonna be the same mana. It's just gonna be less um, throughout the match. Her passive, the infuse healing, decreased by 10%, which is a big deal. That's 10% less healing. Her bad medicine, I'm surprised they did this. I wouldn't be surprised if people max this out first or second. Um, the mana cost was decreased from 60 to 50. Alternate, which is actually her healing, has been decreased. So her healing from her actual ability was decreased by 5%, and then it was decreased again in her passive, which is kind of insane. So I still think she's gonna do a pretty good chunk of healing, but that's, she is losing a lot of healing. And then her ultimate, the duration is going to be, instead of 4.5 seconds, 4 seconds. They can actually bring this down even more. It does sometimes feel like when she does her ultimate to let's say like the carry or whoever, it's like you don't know if you should finish them off, and if you wait, even waiting the 4 seconds, which is what is getting changed to, that's still a long time, and they could still burst you down and kill you. So it's like I kind of wish this went down to like 3 seconds, because 4 seconds is still a long time. Alright, so that was all the heroes. The next thing we're going to talk about is going to be item changes. So we'll start with the carry items. Nuclear rounds, ability haste is going up. I love this only because, as I mentioned before, I like Revenant. His kit is just cool because he got a revolver, although he needs 5 bullets. And I think someone like him and like Twin Blast really abuse, and I guess Drongo really abuse this. But I do like Revenant didn't get an initial buff this patch, but he does use this item, and he is getting a new skin, so hopefully we see more of him. Envy gets an interesting change because the penetration goes down, which I think needs to. You can even bring it down even more, to be honest, just because the passive the passive is so strong that you could bring down some of the stats, and I would understand. And even I abuse this item. Everyone abuses this item. This is like the first second. It's like usually the second item people build on like Kalari and Fang Mao. It's just insane because you get to silence people. But yeah, the silence duration um, is actually being decreased from 1 second to 0.8 seconds. I don't know how big of a deal this is. I don't think it's that big of a deal, especially for like I mentioned, like let's say Fang Mao, he can basic attack cancel, so you could basic attack cancel into like his shield and basic attack cancel into like his thing. I guess if you're like mashing blink, you'll be able to avoid this, but overall, Envy is still like a must-buy item. Next assassin item is gonna be Infernum. This is actually getting an increase. I guess they felt like they nerfed it too much. Max health damage is going that you're gonna do with it is going up. Malady is getting a clear decrease. You're able to clear way too fast with this item, and it kind of is true. And the main reason is because they did decrease the health of like the jungle minions a lot. So yeah, Malady is a very strong item. So they're decreasing the one of the passives that it has, that when the explosion that happens when you kill an enemy unit, the damage that it does is now going to be 20% instead of 25. Mesmer is getting a change. They do mention here that it's not just Mesmer that's getting changed, but Spell Shield, which is I believe the mage version one, where the shield that's around you is actually going up from 45 seconds to 60 seconds. They felt like the downtime was way too fast, so that's why they're increasing it. With Mesmer specifically, they're increasing the physical power by 45. I might actually start using this item more. I myself, I feel like I don't use it as much, especially on like someone like Kalari, because Kalari is insanely squishy, and all it takes is 1 CC and she's gone. So even though it did get this nerf, it does have more power, so that's something that I'm definitely gonna mess with. Right, some of the fighter items is gonna be Basilisk. Basilisk is actually getting missing health damage increase, which is kind of surprising. I think that's a buff, right? So I don't know why this is like a must buy on like almost every offlaner, every physical offlaner. They usually rush Basilisk, and even someone like Seraph in the jungle also rushes Basilisk. So it's kind of insane. Bone Saw is getting an increase. This one also surprised me. I know that mainly Grux only uses this, but this has always been a good item. It's just people don't take advantage of it. maybe with this little change, maybe people will start looking at it and be like, oh, you know what, this is not a bad item. Let me start building this, because you could definitely use it on like someone like Greystone, because Greystone also wants to stick to you just like Grux, and unlike Grux, right, Greystone can't pull you in, so him having more ways to slow and not just with his secondary ability can be very beneficial. Draconum, um, it's getting an interesting change where his physical power is actually going up. It got buffed last patch, where I know the passive went up. I think with like the amount of health you get, I think it was like on takedown or something, from like 4.5 to 5%. So anyone that has like healing in their kit, so this is like very good with like Rampage, Chimera, and like Saris. This is very good, and now it's getting even more increase. I think the only issue with this item is that the reason people don't build it as much is because of one reason is because it doesn't have health. Right? If this had health, even if it had like, I don't know, 150 health, I mean, it'll probably make it a broken item, but they'll have to adjust the stats. But that's like the main reason people don't buy this item, because it does. Because now I guess they're trying to experiment with this, where it's like we're not gonna put the health, we're gonna give it more physical armor, and we're gonna see if people like it. Earthshaker is getting a buff. Attack speed is being increased. They said that they nerfed it too much when they gave it ability haste, and they're like, you know what, we could give the attack speed back to it. Legacy, the magical armor is going up, similar to Draconum. These fighter items that have both damage and defense. Nexus mage items, so we got Lifebinder where the ability haste is being increased. I like this. This is not bad. I know a lot of ability haste items got nerfed a couple of while back, so it's nice seeing some of them getting more ability haste. Magnify is the next item, where they're saying the shred is actually not enough, especially if people start building more than one magical item defense, then it feels like the shred doesn't even do anything, so they're increasing the percentage. Orb of Enlightenment. They basically said that this right now pretty much only benefits Iggy, and that when you actually finally upgrade this item, or this item, then it takes too long to invest in it. So they're like, we're gonna increase the health that you get per level from it. Spellbreaker, we already went over this, similar to Mesmer. The cooldown is being increased from 45 to 60. Next is the support items. Dawnstar, you don't see this too much, but health is being increased. This one, it's whatever. Lunaria, these two are the very big ones, especially since people love running this, and I even made a video, especially with Sinks, where it's like you want to do Martial and Lunaria. So with Lunaria, the max healing was decreased. So this is big against all healers, especially if you're Sinks, because I already mentioned before. Her healing already went down, and then the item that she uses to heal more, the healing for that is going down, and the incense damage stored, which is what's going to provide more healing, also went down. It went from 30% to 25%. So I do think that all the support healers are still going to be able to heal a decent amount. They were just healing way too much. And then Martial, I wish they would have hit like the base power from it, but they only hit the mana regen and went from 125% to 100%. I don't think this is gonna do anything. Every range support is still gonna rush Martial. It's not gonna change. I think they needed to like change the damage or something. Next is tank items. So you got things like Elefrost, where it's like, well, they basically talk about it's like we want to decrease the health, but we want to increase the armor. I don't know how much beneficial that's gonna be. I guess if you're building against someone, this will probably be better instead of just having overall health, because armor is better than health. If you're fighting someone that has they're doing physical damage or magical damage, you have the corresponding armor to mitigate the damage. Giant's Ring, a similar thing. They're decreasing the health, increasing the armor. Raiment of Renewal, they said it offers way too much health, because this item does not have armor, so like we're gonna decrease the health a little bit. They gotta put this 600. They only decreased it by 50, so this is nothing. Warden's Favorite. This is the pretty decent one. The physical power reduction is actually going down from 5% to 8%. And this is not bad, because I believe this is the item that you use when people have too much crit on the enemy team, and it also has another passive where it's like, I think physical abilities do less damage, and 5% people always felt like it wasn't enough. So maybe with 8%, 3% more, maybe it would be a bigger hit. This is definitely a very strong item if the enemy team does have 2 carries and you see that they're building crit, then this item is definitely going to be strong. But that is the patch notes. That's everything. I try to go as fast and as in-depth as possible. So let me know if you like the video, and do comment below.